Okay, so let us begin. Let me show you the slides. I've just uploaded them. Okay, so you should be able to see it on the Blackboard as well as Teams. Okay, so this chapter is about the characteristics of the driver, the pedestrian, the vehicle, and the road. Okay. So first of all, why we are discussing these characteristics? Because they are part of the components of a highway transportation mode. Okay, a highway transportation system consists of these 5 elements: driver, pedestrian, vehicle, road, and the bicycles for urban areas. Normally, bicycles are not considered when you are designing facilities for rural areas. Okay, because the traffic is less and you don't need to provide crossings and so on. Bicycles are more common in the urban areas, and even within the urban areas, if you go across Bahrain, you will find that there are many locations. In fact, majority of the locations are not designed for bicycle use or bicycle users. So bicycle is a very special case. So we will not invest too much time on it right now. So we will focus on driver, pedestrian, vehicle, and road characteristics. But remember, bicycle is a part of highway transportation mode. Let us start with driver characteristics. Drivers obviously are human beings, okay, for the time, okay, because we never know, sooner than later we may have autonomous vehicles, so the drivers will be the vehicles themselves. But for the time being, drivers are humans, and humans have a wide range of abilities. Everybody does not see, react, hear, and think in the same way, or with the same speed, or with the same ability. Okay, there are some slow thinkers, there are some fast thinkers, there are people whose eyesight or visibility is very good, or there are other people who are not so good. People who can listen very well, okay, which you everybody should be listening very well actually. But let me rephrase it: people who hear very well, and people who do not hear so clearly. So people, drivers have these wide ranges of abilities. So there is no standard, or you cannot say, okay, we will uh, design for this driver, okay, because there are other drivers as well. So as a traffic engineer or as a highway engineer, it is our duty, or this should be our goal, to accommodate drivers who have below normal abilities. Okay, because we are considering that normal will be somewhere in the middle. A driver of normal ability will be somewhere in the, like, if you consider driver of normal abilities, that will be like considering 50% of the drivers. Other drivers will be below normal, okay, or abnormal, whatever you want to call it. So you should try to accommodate drivers who have below normal abilities. So obviously, drivers with normal abilities will obviously not have any problem, and then you are increasing the safety for drivers with below normal abilities, because normal drivers or drivers who have above normal abilities don't have any problem, right? So we have to accommodate the drivers who have below normal abilities. Now, how to accommodate that? For example, take eyesight. Okay, so you have, for example, I'm just giving an example. Okay, this is not how things happen. Okay, this is just an example. To At this stage, it will be easier for you to understand. For example, visibility. A normal driver, for example, a normal drivers can see a sign 10 meters away very clearly. A traffic sign which is 10 meters away from the driver can be seen very clearly for a normal driver. Or let me increase it, let's say 20 meters away. A sign which is 20 meters away can be seen very clearly for a normal driver. Okay. A below normal driver may see it 15 meters. A driver who is even below that may see it from 10 meters. Okay. So for example, you take the data from 100 drivers. Okay, and each driver has its own distance after which he can see a traffic sign clearly. So you try to pick up a value when you're designing the road. You try to make sure that your sign is visible to 85 or 95% of the drivers at least. Obviously, if you can achieve 100%, that's very good, but it is not possible. You cannot cover 100% drivers because there is always some margin of error. You do not know who are the people who are driving it on the road 100% correctly. So if you try to cover 85 to 90% of drivers, that's enough. So from the data which you have taken for 100 drivers, you come to know that if the sign is visible at a distance of 8 meters, this is enough for 90% of the drivers. Okay, fine. You can go ahead and design for that. Okay, so this value is called 90th percentile for your data. Why 90th? Because this is the maximum value for 90% of drivers. For 90% of drivers, this value is sufficient. Okay, so this is the meaning of percentile. Percentile is the maximum value for a range of population. In our case, for the range of drivers. So if I take a value which is 85th percentile, that means that value is maximum for 85% drivers. So 85% of drivers need this value or less. Okay. So as per standard given by highway authorities, try to cover 85 to 90% of the drivers. If you try to be very safe, very conservative, up to 90th percentile is enough. 95th percentile is enough. But if you want to be very optimistic and you want to reduce the margin of safety, at least do it till 85th percentile. But you can see here in both cases we are covering way more than 50% of the drivers. Okay, so we are doing way more than a normal driver. Normal driver is somewhere who is in the middle, who is a 50th percentile. So I'm going way above. 85 is 35% above 50. Okay, so I'm going way above normal. Okay, meaning in terms of ability, I'm getting the driver who is 35% below normal. Okay, so this is how you try to incorporate. Okay, you collect data for your local drivers and then you see what value will cover 85% drivers at least or more. Okay, and as I said, you cannot cover 100% drivers because of margin of error, because you do not know their exact characteristics and so on. Now, how do you accommodate these drivers? You accommodate them by providing them enough information on the road about their driving. How should they be driving? In which lane they should be? What should be their speed? When they should start to turn and so on and so forth. So this information is given to the driver through his or her vision. Okay, that's why they check your eyesight, right? They don't check your other abilities, but no matter in which country you go, they will check your eyesight. Okay, so because more than 90% of the information on the road is given through vision, you look at things. Okay, and then some information is given through hearing as well. For example, emergency vehicles. I think I talked about emergency vehicles in the last chapter as well. So these are ambulances, fire trucks. So when they are going for an emergency, they keep their sirens on. So you have the warning, and you have the warning, right, that emergency vehicle is coming. And then for people with disabilities, okay, they can receive some information through hearing as well. Okay, for example, you may have a blind person who wants to cross the street. Okay, so how do you communicate with a blind person? So obviously you make the surface such that he can, when he puts his stick on that surface, he knows is he on the road or he's on the sidewalk. Okay, or there are some signals which they use in Europe and other countries which are for disabled people. Even here, I don't know. I think there is, when you push the pedestrian signal, it gives you a sort of a blinking sound that something is blinking. So this is for people with disability. Okay. Okay, so we have, as I said, most of the information is received through vision. So let us talk about visual reception. Okay, visually how you can receive the information. So the first thing is visual acuity. So these are the things which are related to your vision, and they help you receive the information about the road. Okay, these 5 parameters which you see, all of them are related to your vision, and they help you receive different sort of information from the road. For example, visual acuity is your ability to gather fine details about an object. How fine you can see about the details of an object. That is what we call as visual acuity. Then we have peripheral vision, color vision, glare vision recovery, and depth perception. Let us talk about them, starting with visual acuity. So like I said, visual acuity means your ability to see fine details of the object. Okay, the eye test which they do for you before the license, that is measuring visual acuity in a static position. That is a measurement of visual acuity in a static position. Okay, so the eye chart which they use is known as Snellen eye chart. Okay, and the distance at which you should be able to see from the chart is 6 meters. So the standard distance in that room is 6 meters. Okay, so when you can see the smallest object on that eye chart from that much distance, they tell you your eyesight is 6 by 6. Okay, so this is from where 6 by 6 is coming. It's the distance between you and the chart, the standard distance in a eye examination room. So the smallest object makes an angle of 5 minutes from your line of sight. It makes an arc of 5 minutes from your line of sight at a distance of 6 meters. Let me make it here. So this is you, this is your line of sight, and this is the object. Okay, so if your eyesight is 6 by 6, then you should be able to see an object which is making an angle of 5 minutes from your line of sight. So this angle, I'm talking about this one. Okay, sorry, I cannot. If I try to draw it, I think I will mess it up. So I'm talking about, let me try. So this is one angle, this is another angle. So this total angle is 5 minutes. So if your eyesight is 6 by 6, then any object at a distance of 6 meters making an angle of 5 minutes from your line of sight should be visible to you. To have an eyesight of 6 by 6, you should be able to see an object clearly which is making an angle of 5 minutes from your line of sight, total angle like this. Okay, so and again 5 minutes, I'm not talking about the minutes of the watch. 5 minutes is a unit of the angle. 1 degree has 60 minutes and 1 minute has 60 seconds. So again, I'm not assuming assuming anything about you. Okay, so I'm telling you that degree is a unit of angle, and 1 degree comprises of 60 minutes. So I'm talking about that 5 minutes. Okay, so for any other object, you can calculate the distance or the height of the object from this equation. Okay, so for example, an object which makes an angle of 5 minutes at a distance of 6 meters from your line of sight, then the height of that object can be taken from this equation. H is the height of the object. So how large should be the object? What should be the font size of that object if the distance is 6 meters? Okay, so arc tangent means inverse of arc, and theta is this angle 5 minutes. So we are trying to find out how large should be an object which is visible at a distance of 6 meters and an angle of 5 minutes from the line of sight. So D becomes 6 meters, theta becomes 5 minutes. So how high should be the object? You put D as 6 meters, theta as 5 minutes. So H comes out to be 0.0087 meters, meaning 87 millimeters. So in the Snellen eye chart, in a standard eye examination room, you should be able to see the object which is 87 millimeters in height clearly, if your eyesight is 6 by 6. If you do not, then your eyesight will be decreased with some proportion. Okay, so you can calculate the eyesight from here, from using this equation as well. Okay, so this is static acuity, and this is how they will check it. Okay, I will show you an example in the coming slide where it is of benefit to us as a traffic engineer, where we can use this 6 by 6 eyesight. Okay, then we have dynamic visual acuity as well. So this one was static, and this is dynamic. So dynamic means the ability to detect moving objects. So I'm looking at the fine details about an object in a moving position. Okay, so I am moving or the object is moving. The object can be other vehicle, or maybe the object is a street light or a roadway sign, and I'm moving. So in both cases, it's a dynamic case, dynamic acuity case. Okay, so when you are looking at the objects in dynamic position, obviously you need visual acuity. You need object to be within your range of eyesight, but you also need something else, which is the object should be at a certain angle from your line of sight. Okay, and this angle is to see it very clearly, this angle is 3 to 5 degrees, and to see it with less details, it can be up to 12 degrees. But if the object is beyond 12 degrees from your line of sight, then you would not be able to see any details. So up to 5 degrees, you can see some details. Up to 12 degrees, up to 5 degrees, you can see all the details. Up to 12 degrees, you can see some details. But if it is beyond that, then you cannot see the details. It will become blur. Okay, so you can try it wherever you are sitting right now. Try to see anything on the right hand side wall or the left hand side wall by keeping your eyes on the screen on the laptop. Okay, so you would see that you can see up to a certain extent about the color or whatever is on the wall, but after that you cannot see it. It's just like something is there. Okay, fine, that something is a board or a wall, I don't know. Okay, so it's like that. So when you are looking at the object in moving position, your vision is not enough. Your eyesight is not enough. The object has to be in a certain range from your line of sight in a moving position to see the details about the object. Okay, so these features are important when you are let me just clarify one thing. This static acuity, so I was talking about that angle of 5 minutes, right? This is the height of the object in front of your eyes, and dynamic acuity, and this 3 degree, 5 degree, 12, 10 degree, 12 degree is how far it can be away from your line of sight. Okay, so this is the vertical height. Okay, and these angles are on the horizontal plane. So if I'm looking at the road, how far can be the object away from the road or from my line of sight where I should be able to see the details. Okay, so this one, the top one, is for something which is directly in your line of sight. Okay, then you should be able to see all the details about the object when you're straight ahead looking at it, and it is at least this much height, and you have a 6 by 6 vision. Okay, so that's why when they are checking your eyesight, they tell you what, look at the board, right? But are you looking at the objects which are on the road only? No. Sometimes there are signs and markings on the side of the road. Okay, so you have to pay attention to them as well. So this is where dynamic acuity comes into play. Okay, so visual acuity is good, or static acuity, or this particular equation, or your eyesight is good enough for objects which are directly in front of you on the road. But you need certain range of vision to look for the objects which are on the side of the road as well, or which are on the sides of your line of sight. So up to 5 degrees, the object is clear, very fine. Up to 12 degrees is still enough. Okay, so when you are placing traffic signs or markings, we make sure that it comes within this vision. Okay, and that's where the design of the marking also comes into play. If you see any traffic marking, what is this? If you are going on the road, a traffic marking is what? A white line. A white line doesn't have many details. You don't have to read it. A white line is a white line, or a yellow line is a yellow line, or it's an arrow. That's it. So there are not many details. So even if it is within this range, there are not many details to look at. You don't have to read it. You don't have to understand the symbol or anything. Okay, there are no fine details for this object. So up to 12 degrees, traffic signs and markings are enough. Fine. For a signal, obviously, signal is like green or yellow or red. That's it. So you don't need many details. Okay. A speed sign, there's a big number on the sign, and that's it. So since we do not use any fine details on these traffic markings and signs, so even if they are within the fairly clear range, they are enough. But if I was using some message for the driver, okay, turn here, you will reach this point, at this point pay this much money to this person, and so on and so forth, then I need the driver to straight ahead look at the board. Okay, then obviously, it it does not fulfill the purpose of having dynamic equity. The driver, until he reads the message, he will be 1 kilometer after the sign. Okay, 1 kilometer ahead of the sign. So dynamic equity is important for traffic signs and marking, and they are not directly in your line of sight, but they are very close to it within this range, and we do not use any fine details to convey our message. Okay, now let us look at an example for static equity. Okay. So a driver has a 6x10 vision, 6x10. So he is not perfect. Okay. Okay. By the way, 6x6 is also not perfect. 6x6 is also not perfect for traffic engineers. A guy with a vision of 6x4 is better for us than a guy with a vision of 6x6. Okay, because 6x4 means he can see to more distance. 6x4 means he can see to more distance. I will show you in this example. A guy which has a vision of 6x10 can see a sign. Decipher means he can see all the details about a sign from a distance of 6 meters. What distance will be required for the drivers with these equities to see the same sign? So a 6x10, my reference is somebody gave me a data, or somebody was a 6x10, had a vision of 6x10, and he told me I can see this sign which you are showing me from a distance of 6 meters. Okay, very clearly. But the traffic authorities are telling me that there are other drivers who have a vision of 6x4, and their other extreme is there some drivers have a vision of 6x15 as well. So you see, these are extremes, right? If you consider this one, these are two extremes. One is way beyond and one is very low. Okay. So what about these drivers? If I want to, so this is like an average driver, and this is like a above average driver, and this is a below average driver. Okay, something like that. So this is where the concept of taking abilities below normal comes into play. Okay, so we are trying to see for which drivers we should design and so on. Okay, if this sign is visible from a distance of 6 meters to a 6x10 driver, then how far or how much distance a driver with 6x6 ability requires to see the same sign? Okay, why I'm calculating this distance? Because my reference is a driver with 6x6. When I measure the visual acuity, I measure at a scale of 6x6. So first of all, I must find out how much distance my reference driver will require. The reference according to my eye test. Okay, so a driver with 6x10, okay, needs 6 meters. Okay, so 6x6, 36. I think I made a mistake here. It should be 6x10 into 10. Yeah. should be 6 by 10. Let me check. Just give me a second. I will just check it from the book. Yeah, it should be 10 by 6. Yeah, 10 by 6. Should be 10 by 6. Let me change it. Yeah, 10 by 6 into 6. Okay, actually what we are doing is we took the distance of 6 meters. Okay, so this 6 meter is for a driver of 6 by 10. Okay, so when you multiply the distance with the inverse of this, then you will get the distance for 6 by 6 drivers, a driver with a 6 by 6 ability. Okay, why are we doing that? Because let me show it here. Okay, so we have a driver of 6 by 6 into some distance d. Okay, and we have a driver of 6 by 10 into distance of 6. Okay, so I'm trying to calculate d here. Okay, I need to make both of them same because both drivers are looking at the same sign. Both drivers are looking at the same sign. So this driver with this ability can see it from 6 meters, and this driver with this ability can see it from d distance. So how much is d? Okay, so I'm equating them. Why I'm equating them? Because they are looking at the same sign. Okay, so it's the same object. Okay, so the product of the eyesight and the distance should be equal for both drivers, because eventually they are deciphering the sign, right? They can easily see the sign, the details about the sign. So the equation which I showed you in the last slide, arc tangent equation. So I'm putting the arc tangent of both the drivers equal. This is what I'm doing. See here. So I'm taking this equation for a driver with 6 by 6 ability equals to the driver who has a 6 by 10 ability. Okay, and I'm putting them equal because eventually they are looking at the same object. Okay, so this is a actual equation, eyesight into the distance, and I'm making them equal because they are looking at the same object. So I have this side of the equation, and I have from here 6 by 6, and I'm trying to calculate d. So d is 10 meters here. For this driver, d is 10 meters. Okay, a driver with 6 by 6 vision, d is 10 meters. Okay, so applying the same equation here. Okay, so now I am on this side, right? So now I know d, but I'm trying to calculate what number will come here on the other side. Okay, and the visions are now 6 by 4 and 6 by 15. So it's the same equation which I'm applying. Okay, but I know this side of the equation. I'm trying to find out the other side of the equation, and the vision is 6 by 4 and 6 by 15. So for 6 by 4, this number is 15 meters, and for 6 by 15, this number is 4 meters. Okay, so again I'm using, so 6 by 6 will be 1, so you don't see any 1 here, multiply by 1. So this is actually 6 by 4 into 10 into 1. 6 by 4 into 10 into 1. Okay, So 1 because of 6 by 6. Okay, so we don't need to write 1 here. So like I was saying, a driver with 6 by 4 ability can see the sign from a distance of how many? 15 meters. And driver with 6 by 6 can see it from how many? 10 meters. See the difference? Okay, so this driver can see more distance. He is not 6 by 6. He is better than 6 by 6. He is better than 6 by 6. And obviously, if it is 6 by 15, then he can only see from 5 meters. So he is even worse than 6 by 10. He is even worse than 6 by 10. Okay. So I hope you understood this example. So this is how we can incorporate drivers with different visions. Okay, so you can take out the data about the visual acuity of the drivers, and you can try to calculate how much distance they need to look at a sign or to look at another vehicle while they are on the road. Okay.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Why you bought 10 divided by 6?
10 divided by 6 is
to calculate the D.
To calculate D, yeah.
But also 6 divided by 4 to calculate D. Why up not?
These are for different drivers. For different drivers. For different drivers. This
okay.
D is for a driver of 6 by 6 ability. So but 6 by 6 means what? 1
by 6.
Say again.
We have 6 divided by 10, not 10 divided by 6. In the question.
10 divided by 6. It will go to the other side, right? It will come here.
Okay. Okay, Doctor.
Okay. So, anyone else? Okay. Other visual abilities include peripheral vision. Okay. So, peripheral vision is related to this. Anything which is beyond this range, 12 degrees from your line of sight, what did I say? It becomes blur. But it is still visible to some extent. It is still visible to some extent. It does not become invisible. It is blurry, but it is not invisible. So anything which is in this range is called as in peripheral vision. Okay, anything which you can see but blurrily, not clearly, that is in the peripheral vision. Okay, so it is beyond 12 degrees but still visible. Okay, so minimum peripheral vision is noted to be 160 degrees from your line of sight. So beyond 12 degrees up to 160 degrees from your line of sight, like 80 degree on one side, 80 degree on the other side. Okay, so after 12 degrees up to 80 degrees it is blur, and after 80 degrees for some people it becomes invisible. For some people it goes up to 90 degrees as well. Some people can see up to 90 degrees from your line of sight, from their line of sight. Okay, but almost all the people can see up to 80 degrees from the line of sight. So 80 degree on one side, 80 degree on the other side, the object is still visible. Okay, so the details and color of the objects are not clear, but you can detect the object, you can detect the movement of the object. So for example, you are waiting on the intersection, somebody is coming from the other side, so you may be able to detect that somebody is coming. Okay, so because he is in the peripheral vision. But if that person is a male or a female, okay, or how what is the height of that person, or so on and so forth, you cannot detect until that person close to your this range. So if this person is in this range, then you can tell me what type of clothes he is wearing. Is he talking on the mobile, or is he or obviously that person is a male or a female. But if he is beyond this range, but then you can just tell me, okay, there's a person and he's coming this way, that's it. Okay, so you cannot see the details and color of the object which are in the peripheral vision. Okay, but peripheral vision is important for detecting the presence of objects which might come in your way, like a crossing pedestrian or a vehicle coming from the right hand side or the left hand side or from the other lane. And it is very important to detect your speed as well. Okay, you detect your speed when the objects are moving on your side. Okay, so if the objects are moving fast, that means your speed is high. If the objects are moving slow, that means your speed is low. Okay, so you can detect the movement of the objects around you. Then we have color vision. Color vision, obviously, ability to differentiate between colors. If someone does not have the ability to differentiate between colors, we call him colorblind. Okay, so obviously we are using different colors on the roads and highways for our signs and markings. If someone cannot differentiate between color, if for example for someone yellow and red looks the same, imagine how many problems he can have or she can have. Okay, so color blindness is important, or color vision is important for drivers, obviously, to understand the meaning of the signs, symbols, and lights. Just a funny fact, I always share it with the students that in Pakistan they used to do a color blindness test for us when we took the admission in university. And if you are color blind, just guess which field you can opt for. Civil engineering. So civil engineer can be color blind and he can be blind as well, for all we care. Okay, so civil engineers are special people. They can be color blind, can be blind. Anyways, now what do we do as traffic engineers or highway engineers to take care of color blindness? We use colors in which people are not normally colorblind. For example, black and white. Ask any person who is colorblind, okay, that you cannot that which color do you have the problem with. He will never say black or white. Black or white, they don't have any problem. Okay, in fact, the other colors which they cannot differentiate, they look to them as black and white. So the color which is actually black and white doesn't have any problem. Okay, and same thing for yellow as well. Black and yellow, yellow and white. Again, most of the people, I'm not sure about yellow, but I'm sure about black and white. People don't have colorblind. People don't have any problem with black and white. But yellow, I think if you are using yellow over white or yellow over black, it looks to them, even if you are colorblind, it looks to them black and white. Okay, if any of you is a colorblind or who knows someone who is colorblind, you can let me know. Okay, but I'm very sure about black and white. Other visual abilities are glare recovery, glare vision, glare recovery. Glare means when you come from darkness to extreme light or vice versa. Okay, so for example, you are driving at night, okay, and there's a car which was parked on the side of the road, and it was like facing towards you, and the driver in that car suddenly started his lights. He switched on his headlights. So you will feel color blindness, you will feel blindness because you are in the dark and now there is extreme light in your eyes. So you will feel blindness for some seconds. Then your eyes will take some time to adjust. Okay, so glare is how blind you become when the light changes suddenly, and glare recovery is how many seconds your eyes take to recover and adjust to this extreme situation. Obviously, you do not remain blind. After some time, your eyes adjust and you start seeing. Okay, so I just give you the example how you can come from dark to light, and the example for light to dark is when somebody turns off the lights. So for example, the street lights were working, now suddenly something went wrong and the street lights are off. Or when you're coming from the road into the tunnel, when you're going into the tunnel, it has the same effect even in the daytime. Even in the daytime, tunnel becomes extremely dark as compared to the daylight. So that's why inside the tunnel, if you go look around in the tunnels of which you have in Bahrain, you will find even in the daytime they switch on the lights in the tunnel. Why? To avoid the effect of glare. Okay, so you are not coming from light to extreme darkness. You are coming to some darkness, so you will take less time and you will not go completely blind. Okay, so it is important for nighttime driving, because nighttime driving you are dependent upon the lights of your car, like street lights and so on, which can go wrong. Okay, and it helps you for the, and you need to provide from transition for tunnels, as I told you. Then depth perception. Depth perception is your ability to estimate your speed and distance with reference to the other objects. So I am driving my car. There's a car in front of me. So I adjust my speed on the basis of how much distance I have from the other car, right? If I feel I'm getting too close, I will slow down. If I feel that the other car is moving very fast and the distance is increasing, I will move fast. Okay. So this comes as a this comes very handy or very important for depth perception. These abilities to judge the distance and the speed of the other vehicles and other objects from your car, it is called as depth perception. So depth doesn't mean vertical. Okay, we are judging horizontal distances and speeds of the other objects in your car. So when you are making passing or overtaking on 2-lane roads, okay, we will discuss it in the at the end of the chapter again. So when you are overtaking or passing another vehicle on 2-lane roads, so you go to the other lane and then you come back to your own lane, right, to overtake. So you have to judge how much gap you have. Okay. Similarly, when you are entering a roundabout, you trying to you have to judge how much gap you have to enter and move safely, right? So if you don't have depth perception, if you have problems with depth perception, then you will have problem judging gaps as well. Then you will have problems in overtaking other vehicles, entering the roundabouts, and moving from the intersections and so on. Okay, you will have problems. Even at the yellow interval, you will have problems. When the signal light is showing yellow, you will not know how much should you move or should you stop. Okay, because of lack of depth perception. Okay, so in order to facilitate the driver, we make the signs of a standard size, so he becomes used to it. So if I can see that a stop sign at a particular location from this distance, I already know from last time, for this sign, this much distance is enough. Okay, so signs and markings are made up of a standard size. So even the drivers who have lack of depth perception can easily detect on the basis of their prior experience how much distance they need to stop and do something. Okay, but usually depth perception is a problem with very young and very old drivers. Very young and very old drivers have problems with depth perception. So both you and me have problem of depth perception, right? You because you are very old, and I because I am very young, right? Just joking. Let me look at that. Okay. Okay. So we will continue on Sunday. Okay. Let me just check one thing. Okay. I think I wrote this equation reverse. Okay. This equation should be, D should be on this side, 6 should be on this side. This equation in reverse. Okay. It should be like, how should I put it? Let me make it here. So it should be 6 by 6 into 6 plus 6 should be this. Okay, it should be like this. This is the correct equation. Okay, 6 by 6 into 6 equals to 6 by 10 into D. Okay, so the distance is vision upon distance. Vision upon distance. Okay, because we are taking C here, inverse. Arc tangent means inverse. So this is the effect of inverse. You have to reverse. Okay, so instead of having or let me write it in another way. So 6 by 6 into 6. Okay, now since I am taking inverse, so instead of doing 6 by 10, I will write 10 by 6 into this is 6. Okay, so this is the actual equation. I think it should be easier. Okay, Sorry, because we were not using this equation earlier, so I have a, I still have to get used to it. Okay, so what is happening? What we are doing? We are trying to calculate distance for a driver with 6x6 distance, and the driver with 6x10 distance at a distance of 6 meters. So this 6 meters is coming from here. Why I am multiplying 10 by 6? Why not 6 by 10? Because the equation says inverse of tangent. Inverse of tangent. Okay, so this is the effect of the inverse. I have to do the inverse of whatever is given to me. Okay, I'm hoping that this should make it clear. Okay, any questions? If you don't have any questions, I will move to the attendance. Sorry again for this question. Okay, I will try to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Ola Abbas, raise your hand or speak up. Ola Abbas. Ahmad Abdul Salam.
Yes, doctor.
Good. Ahmad.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ahmad Muhammad Ahmad, I think. Ahmad Muhammad Ahmad. Okay. Anas Ahmad. Anas Ahmad. Faisal Ahmad.
Yes,
Faisal
doctor.
Ahmad.
Yes.
Faisal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Zainab Ahmad. Zainab Ahmad. Okay. Iman Al-Gharbal. Iman Al-Gharbal. Iman Al-Gharbal. Is there Bayan Ali? Bayan
Yes.
Ali. Okay. Sara Ali. Okay. Dalal Mahmood. Dalal Al-Mahmood.
Yes, doctor.
Dalal Al-Mahmood.
Yes, doctor.
Dalal. Okay. Khayal Noemi is here. Hashim Al-Sada. Hashim Al-Sada.
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Ma'ab Al-Siddiq.
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak.
Yes.
Okay. Susan Babakar. Okay. Salma Ghanim. Okay. Sarah Hamad. Okay. Haneen Hassan. Maria Hassan. Okay. Mariam Hassan. Okay. Zain Hassan. Zain Hassan. Okay. Batul Isa. Okay. Amira Jafar. Noor Jafar. Noor Jafar. Okay. Mahmoud Juma. Ahmad Mahdi. Okay. Abdullah Muhammad Misbah. Sorry.
Yes, doctor.
Abdullah is here. Okay. Ammar Mansoor. Ammar Mansoor. Okay, you are here. Batul Muhammad. Okay. Maria Muhammad. Maria Muhammad. Okay. Then we have Muhammad Musa Muhammad. Okay. Muhammad. Yusuf Muhammad. Yusuf Muhammad. Haisin.
Yes,
Habib
doctor.
Haisin. Okay. Yusuf Nizam.
Yes, doctor.
We can leave, doctor.
Yes. Yes. Muntazir Saeed. Muntazir Saeed. Okay. Saleh. Saleh. Okay. Saleh Mahdi Saleh. Okay. Iman Sayyid. Iman Sayyid. Okay. Maram Taqi. Maram Taqi. Okay. Yusuf. Yusuf. Abdullah Yusuf.
Yes, here, doctor.
Okay. Just call out the absentees. Otherwise, you can leave. Yusuf Muhammad. Anas Ahmad. Ola Abbas. Yusuf Muhammad. Anas Ahmad. Ola Abbas. Okay. Thank you. We'll see you on Sunday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Doctor.
Yes.
Doctor,
You are
I'm
from
in
the other
section
section?
2.
Okay.
Yes.
People from section 2, just give me a second. Okay, Hala is here. Else from section 2. Anyone else from section 2? Okay. Okay, fine. So have a nice weekend. I will see you on Sunday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.